and good day, listeners from around the world. This is James Jordan and co-host Michael Wallace coming at you for another edition of the Wide World of Motorsports podcast for the week of January 31st, 2021. And Mike and I here were just talking about the development of the next gen. Maybe it's good that the next gen was delayed in NASCAR for the Cup Series. Maybe
it needed to be.
Yeah, because just imagine
you need to get it right.
Oh my God! Just imagine if that was coming out in 2 weeks, and the way it's been handling on road courses. Kurt Busch was saying the same thing at the other fella there. That other fella. Yeah. They were saying the same thing about it when they were testing it at the Roval, and that when it goes from, and maybe test this at a normal road course first, then we'll see, because it's like an experiment. Like maybe we should do other tests here and then come up with a conclusion. But obviously going from the flat part of the track to the banking ain't fun anyway. You know, I haven't raced a real car, but on iRacing certainly ain't fun most of the time, depending what you're driving. And they said it bottoms out and then it gets squirrely, but it gets squirrely in a weird way where you're done. There's no saving it. There's no room for error, is what Kurt Busch said.
Oh, really? It
that was like a month or two ago.
It's unpredictable.
Yeah,
right? It bottoms out and you can't catch it because it's just kind of do its thing.
So maybe it's a good thing to. So we'll have like that final send off. You'll have that final ride off in the sunset for Gen. What is this? Gen 6? Yeah. Jesus, it's been so long since 2013. Yeah. That's how long this Gen's been. About time. We came into this conversation here, folks. That we've been rolling. That was good. But going back into a couple weeks with some of the things since the last episode, that was for the week of, I believe it was January 18th, if I'm not mistaken. So some of the things that have happened since then. To just first off here, would like to say our condolences and thoughts to the Jukasa Motor Speedway co-owner and Grand Chief Ken Hill. Our condolences, thoughts to his loved ones. We understand that Ken was a valued member in the community in Southern Ontario here where we live, and he was also a great entrepreneur, and not only that, a staple in the Indigenous community, and he will be missed. And he invested into Jukasa, the Jukasa radio, and I believe the Jukasa Vapes company, and then they ended up eventually getting into racing. And I've actually seen him a couple times at Jukasa, and he's always in there with the winners and stuff, getting a picture and stuff like that. Really like that. So someone on the racing scene as well here in our area, from where I live, Hamilton only being a 45-minute drive away, and even you're close. He's invested into stuff as well, closer to Toronto and stuff. So a known member of the community, and gotta give some reference and some respect to that.
For sure.
Yeah. But going into some other news though, with Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson's paint schemes coming out for the Daytona 500 with the number 9 Napa Auto Parts machine, kind of looking relatively the same. They're going with the
a little bit,
the what made him famous, and that's his look. That's the look fit for the champ. So
if it ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess.
Yeah.
And I like it though.
It was
like you said, it's the same, but it's not, right? There's just there's something different about it. I maybe if I saw them, I'm just looking at the reveal of his new one. So maybe if I had a previous one right beside it, it'd be easier. But it just does look different. I like it though. Yeah,
that's his iconic. I think that's gonna be his scheme. You kind of think about Jimmy Johnson, you think about Gordon, and you think about the Rainbow Warrior scheme, and where you think
his
about
dad.
you think about iconic schemes, and he's made that his scheme. That's going to be hopefully maybe a throwback 20 years from now, and that'll be throwback worthy in the year of 2040. So, oh man, just imagine the cars then. Ugh. No, I'm not complaining. And then Kyle Larson, they finally came out with their Daytona 500 paint scheme from Nations Guard, which is a company from Hendrick Cars. I think that's like their insurance or their whatchamacallit program. You come in and get your car fixed. Shit goes down.
That's a Hendrick company sponsoring the Hendrick car.
Basically. Yeah.
So I heard through the grapevine, because I'm so connected. No, I don't remember
things you've heard on the street.
Yeah,
you've heard on
but
the
I
street.
had heard
that
there was big talks to try to get him Kyle to run for Tony Stewart, but the sponsor that was sponsoring Boyer, they didn't want to sponsor Kyle, so Kyle signed with Hendrick. But that makes sense now, knowing that Nations Guard is a Hendrick
subsidiary or whatever.
Yeah, subsidiary.
Thank you.
So they weren't. He
like
wasn't.
Ricky.
He wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't worried about finding a sponsor because they were just going to sponsor it with his own company. Now this just might be for Daytona 500. I don't know, but it's interesting. But that being said, I don't really care where the sponsorship came from. I'm glad that he's in. I'm glad. That
they almost slipped it by everyone. Most up until now. Now everyone knows that now at least our listeners know. We've spoiled that for them. That's a Hendrick sponsor. Like maybe they snuck by with some people. Like, oh, Nations Guard, legit.
Anyways, but I do like it. I think I actually really like the green and black and white.
Well,
I think it looks good.
Yeah, there's something. Because the 5, like that, Casey Kane had a scheme as well with that back in the day. So, and then it was also
Farmers
Ricky. It was also originally it was a Ricky Hendrick paint scheme, and then if you were to put Jimi Hendrix, if you were to put Jimmy Johnson, put the Jimi Hendrix experience beside it, you'll see if you put Jimmy Johnson's paint scheme, his mid to late 2000s paint scheme beside it, you'll also see it's not as sharp, it's almost, there's some more jagged edges on this new 5 paint scheme, but on the Jimmy's paint scheme, it was also sort of a tribute to Ricky Hendrick, because that affected him too as well. He was pretty close with Ricky, right. So that's basically what that is, but it's cool. It's something new. It's something used or something blue or whatever. I probably screwed that up, but in whatever order that's in, it looks. Yeah, I like the green and the green and the black, and
it's sharp. It's a sharp looking. I like those colors together. People would probably associate it as an ugly look. But whatever, I don't think it's ugly. I like it, and I probably buy a die cast of it. I can't wait. Could look out for that 164. I would too.
Or 124. Go with the bigger one. Pay the extra bucks. But yeah, so a couple of just cool paint schemes that came out for the 500. Looking forward to seeing those in the next couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. Concord Speedway was taken down, demolished. Classic racetrack that has actually held many iconic race car drivers. That is in North Carolina, and it was originally ran in the NASCAR Grand National Series, and they did that for a couple of years back in the day. It wasn't really didn't really catch on for a lot, but throughout the 90s there was some action there with the Goodies Dash Series and the AutoZone Elite Division and the Wheelin' Southern Tour. So, and I even think Craftsman ran there for a season or something like that. So it saw some names there.
Right.
And, not only that, it was for that area and for it being so close to a lot of the headquarters and the shops. They were often used for testing, or it would be used for if tracks had to take pictures for something or maybe digitize it, or even to extent of movies or commercials, or even if the teams had to go there and film something, they'd go to that track. And so you might even see it in the odd commercial or something like that, or promo, or whatever throughout the years.
At least it's saved forever in iRacing.
Yes. And Dale Jr. is saying something about that on his podcast last summer about when they started to put they scanned North Wilkesboro and then they put it into the service, and that it's really cool to be able to obviously recreate something forever. And it's hopefully we can put together like a tribute race or something like that, a special Wide World of Motorsports tribute race on iRacing in a hosted session or something like that.
I like that idea. I really like that one.
We should figure that out. What else? So the dirt at Bristol. I don't know. It looks so weird. It looks so weird.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, it's not the first time they've put dirt.
Right.
Bristol,
Yeah.
right? It'll be the first time to have Cup run on it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
it's going to be there for a couple months. Obviously, like they plan to keep. I don't know if there's much. I don't know what goes on there with regional stuff. You'd think they'd have something going on, but like clearly, if they are, they're going to have it on dirt. I hope they do a test or something like that on that. You know, it's a lot of banking for a dirt track. I feel like cars are going to dig in a lot.
I feel like that as well, and I'm really interested. It will be really interesting to see how the Cup cars run on the dirt. I know when they ran the trucks at Eldora, as much as they looked like the trucks, they were quite different, right?
Yeah,
the front end was quite lifted up. The tires were a different size, and
these cars are going to look weird too.
Yeah, they're going to look weird. But I mean, I think it'll be good. I think you're going to see. I'm going to say it right now. Kyle Larson wins that race. Just saying.
Call it early.
How do you look at his dirt racing season that he had this year? I mean, how is he not a favorite? I mean, right behind him is Christopher Bell. He's in Cup this year, right? He's got a full season ride. Yeah, so I think realistically, if the team's looking at a track to win at, it's going to be dirt Bristol, right? That's where he's going to win. He's not going to beat Chase at the road course at Daytona. Yeah, I don't think.
After they put a layer of sawdust down, it goes almost like halfway up the wall on the outside of the wall in the turn, and once they add the dirt on, it's like it just looks like there's fence. Like, so I'm wondering what's gonna happen if like a car gets up there and like, is it just gonna go in?
Interesting.
I like the picture I'm looking at right now. It doesn't look like they're gonna probably make it thin up there or something, but it doesn't look like it. They got the sawdust all the way up there, so gonna see how that turns out. I'm really interested. I think they're going to crash into the fence, and the car is going to get into the fence at some point during the race, I think. So I wonder if that's... Well, maybe... I don't know. Who knows?
Maybe they're... maybe what they do... No, that's an old photo. Maybe what they'll do is they'll actually... I mean, not that there'll be a lot of people there anyways.
Right.
Probably
keep it away
COVID,
from the first few rows.
Yeah, like I'm looking at this picture from when I think World of Outlaws was there, and you can see where the people are sitting on the front stretch, and they're like, I don't know, it seems like they're about 15 rows from the fence. So, and it's like there's nobody down below. It's not like a few people are sitting up there and
there's some
other
safety
people
zone.
Went down low. I mean, there's nobody there.
Right.
So maybe that's the safety zone.
So people will be
safe. They're not going to be going. there's no way they're going to be going as fast as they do.
Right. Yeah. No.
On the asphalt there on the
no
dirt.
way. Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. I guess I don't know enough about dirt.
Right. You think because they go up? Don't they go up to like 100?
I go more than that. I know the winged sprint cars. I mean, those things are crazy. They're doing way more than that. I think they're up in like 120,
Yeah.
30. I think at some of the big ones, they're doing like 150.
Yeah. So.
And then throw it sideways like it's nothing through the corner.
We'll see what happens. That's like one of those we'll see. It's like so sketchy. Like we'll see how that goes. But whatever.
I'm excited though. I'm excited.
Oh, yeah. I'm also excited for the NASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series. And there's only a few races announced for that, but that will be running alongside the actual normal races on weekends. So you'll be able to watch like
really?
It'll be just like the ones we saw back in the spring. It'd be cool.
Interesting.
It was so good they're doing it again. So now that the NBCSN's not going to be around for much longer anyways, but I think that's through Fox if I'm not mistaken anyway. So
oh, is it? That's good. That's interesting that they're doing that. I guess
it'll
they
be
found
split
a need
between
for that.
FS1 and NBC Sports. So, but not that NBC Sports is going to be around for much longer. I can't believe they're doing that.
No, but aren't they just changing? Aren't they?
They're putting everything to Peacock. That's what they're
Peacock. That's right.
And then apparently there might be some races on USA Network, and that's good because in the States apparently that's like basic cable. Like that's part of the first, like your free 30 channels or something like that or whatever, right? So that might expand the audience a bit more. And NASCAR used to be on the USA Network back in the day, anyway. So, like there you go. We'll
should do
see.
That with IndyCar then.
Well, and to get into the Rolex here for the rest of the show here. And speaking of that, I mean, it's curious to know what's going to happen with that next year with IMSA and IndyCar. What channels are they going to be broadcast on? IndyCar, I know that their contract runs up next year, I believe, anyways. So they're going to have to figure something out. And well, with IMSA though, they have IMSA TV, so I think regardless, they've got their asses covered. Probably, I think they piggyback the cameras feeds off of NBC or whoever else is there.
It's a world feed.
A world feed, right?
It's what they call a world feed, and then I mean, it is what it says, what the name is, right? It goes out across the world. But what's actually, just talking about that with this year's Rolex, we got IMSA TV up here. So for the last 2 years, it was geo-blocked because IMSA signed a deal with Discovery and we'd show it on Velocity.
So it wasn't just me,
right? No, and that was really actually, it was. A lot of people were really upset by it, myself included, because, we're starting to go in a world of like that terrestrial TV, that kind of thing is disappearing, right? We have Netflix. People have Netflix. I mean, I have Netflix. We have Prime, Disney Plus. That's the world. I think that's where we're going now. Yeah. So when they cut it. When they cut it right off of IMSA TV on the internet, I was pretty upset. And then the other thing, real crappy thing too, was that before it was you could watch it on IMSA TV or you could pay. There's something you could pay for, a TV service that you could stream it, and it wasn't available in Canada, only available in the United States. Yeah. So the only way you could watch the race for the last 2 years was either have cable or pay for a VPN and watch it illegally.
Oh yeah.
Which I may or may not have done.
Yeah, don't want to. Yeah, exactly. Don't want to put yourself in too much hot water. But man, that weekend though, and just everything started off with the MAZDA MX-5 races. There was 2 races. There was I believe it was Wednesday night, and that was a crazy finish. And there
No,
was a
Thursday
night. Okay, there was a mad dash to the finish line, and they were like 5 wide. And if you haven't seen it, check it out on YouTube or Facebook. Just look up the MSR Cup.
The leader goes from first place to 8th from the tri-oval to the finish line. Like that just tells you all you need to know. He goes from leading the race. I'm like, oh yeah, he's got this locked up. His buddy's gonna push him, and then nope.
Yeah, they were like there was like a train up there. It was crazy. And then going into the next day, it was pretty good too. With a good last lap there, or under the 5 minutes. There was some contact made there between some cars and putting some people in positions they didn't want to be in. And ultimately, though, that was not as good as the first one, but it was good. You can still check out that finish. But nonetheless, though, that was a good way to start everything off. Everyone thought that was cool. It was a nice way to start things off, and then we get into the nitty gritty into the Saturday. And what a start to the Rolex.
Friday. I mean, quick, just on a
the practice, the night practice they had on the Friday.
I was going to bring up the Michelin Pilot Sport.
Yes.
That was a great race. That was a 4. I know. You know what? It's funny because you're not the only one, and it is so good. It's such good racing. If you're not watching. If you're not watching it, you gotta.
Yeah.
You really got it. Like this year, there was 42 cars for the IMSA Pilot Challenge. There was only 7 more cars for the big show. So, you had 15, 17. More than that, 17, 18, 19, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. You had 25 GT4 cars. Like, that's crazy. That's huge. So, and the main reason why I wanted to bring this up is that we had a Canadian car win the race.
Right,
with Kuno Whitmer and Ore Fidani. And I believe Ore Fidani's father is co-chair, co-owner, co-investor. I forget what his title is of CTMP. So a real Canadian connection here, winning that race. So that's why I wanted to bring it up.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
and there's another Canadian connection too, in the Rolex as well. With the I forget what class it was, but with the car that was designed with the 6-year-old. I believe it was up in Ottawa or something like that.
Yep. The ARCA Motorsports car that won P2 overall.
Yeah.
It was run by designed by a 6-year-old fan. Yeah, they called it the crayon car because it's pretty cool. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's on the Wide World of Motorsports group page. But they won in class.
Did I forget to share that one? Too. Did I forget to share that one?
No, yeah, you might have. That's okay though.
But with today though, man, it was a good 24-hour start out with lots of cautions. I believe last year only had 6 or something like that, and there was like 13 or something like that this year. But less laps though. They ran less laps. Okay, yeah.
They didn't make what they made last year. They only ran 807 laps this year, and I forget what they ran last year. But anyways, it was under time, but that's okay. It wasn't for any less of a terrible race, right? We ran less laps, but it was a good race.
Yeah. Albuquerque got Wayne Taylor the Rolly, got them the watch. Originally though, Ricky Taylor was supposed to finish it off, but he was like, I don't know if I got it. And then they put in Albuquerque. I always want to call him Albuquerque. Yeah, it's like Albuquerque.
I think it is. Yeah, it's Albuquerque.
Albuquerque. But
yeah.
Things were really close and deep, and so as well. There was another couple of categories where it was close at the end there, but the DPI was the closest it ever was. And
Yeah, it was
through
it was
1
really
through
close.
5, everyone was on the same lap at the end of the race.
Yeah.
And
That
to
just speaks to the
see,
reliability
oh yeah,
of the cars nowadays, right?
and the drivers too, the level of skill so up, and with Kobayashi getting up there for Action Express for number 48, being able to get up to second, at least they got a podium for that.
Yeah.
So Jimmy getting his third P2 for that.
Awesome.
So for the DPI though, that was great little race
Yep.
this year, and so
Well,
very good this year.
well, it's funny. So, like with Wayne Taylor Racing, this is their third 24-hour in a row. Their fourth in 5 years, which is massive. And the Felipe and Ricky are the full-time drivers in that this year. Which is awesome because they're both amazing drivers. But they have a history. I believe it was 2017 that Ricky Taylor dove down into turn one,
Right, yeah.
and door banged with Felipe to get with 10 minutes left to go to get the win for his father. So it's interesting to see two drivers with that kind of history be teamed up together. Obviously that stuff's water under the bridge. I mean, I've seen a couple of interviews with them about it, and they said they talked afterwards. They're fine. They got over it. But it was a good win for them. I would have loved to see, Chip Ganassi win.
Yeah.
That was heartbreaking. They were, of all the DPI teams this weekend, that Chip Ganassi car, for me, was the most impressive because, Ranger ran all last season in this car for Wayne Taylor Racing. Kevin Magnussen was obviously doing Formula One, and Scott Dixon was doing IndyCar, which he won the championship, of course, and he did do the endurance racing. But if you look at this driver lineup, two of the three drivers, like, this isn't where they earn their money, and I feel like the Chip Ganassi Cadillac deal was kind of last minute. They ran with no sponsor on the livery. They weren't even wearing, I don't think they were, the mechanics, were they even wearing Chip Ganassi, team gear?
They looked pretty generic, I think.
Yeah, so everything just seemed like last minute, and you know what? If it wasn't for that second blown right rear tire, the third on the Cadillacs for the day, I think they were going to win that race. I think Ranger was waiting to find Felipe's weaknesses.
Yeah, there was so much focus on the DPI as well, and it was rightfully so this weekend. There's a lot of stuff going on, and so the LMP2 category as well was pretty cool to watch. You didn't hear too much about I didn't hear much about the GTDs, at least on the NBC broadcast. It seems like, and even the GTLMs a little bit. Like, I'd never heard anything about Jordan Taylor or anything like that the whole race, it seems like.
Yeah, so I watched on the IMSA TV broadcast, which gets, as you know, and I think some of our listeners will know, it gets the Radio Le Mans broadcast. They do a really good job at covering everything, because they don't care if it's on TV or not. Do you know what I mean by that? Like, I find on a TV broadcast, the guys are talking about what you're seeing on the screen because it's relevant. But because they also do radio, the Radio Le Mans guys, obviously by their name, they had phone calls with drivers and interviews with different people, and they covered everybody. I would say that they didn't cover the LMP3s as much as the other classes, but I think it was because there wasn't much to report there.
Right. Yeah.
But I found that they covered everybody pretty good. But you saying that you didn't hear much of Jordan Taylor, that car wasn't talked about a lot.
Right.
It should have been the number 4 that was going to win that race. they got number 4 had pole position. They won the pole race. And they were quicker today. So it's actually kind of surprising that the number 3 ended up on top.
Yeah, they ended up being quicker on the Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
So with Antonio Garcia also having COVID and potentially exposing the rest of that team to coronavirus.
Oh, that's crazy, isn't it? That's the craziest thing. You and I were talking about it before we started recording. Like, he got COVID halfway through the race, or I don't know if it was halfway, but he wasn't able to finish the race.
He did 8 hours, so he did a lot of. I think it was like within somewhere on the so it was his last stint was at 9 a.m. So. So when did he get his tested? So
like
that was
how many
his
days
test
ago did he get tested?
Wanting to leave. So that was his test to leave America because he was probably going to finish the race and get the fuck out, I guess, or something like that. I don't know. So they ended up finding out that during his exit test that he had it. But when he came in and he did the quarantine and all that, when they came into America, he was good to go. Like, he was clear of it. So he would have contracted it in the U.S.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's Florida. No, sorry, Floridians, our Floridian listeners. But that is true. And I wonder if there's going to be some sort of backlash from that. I hope not. Everyone said they were safe. So they felt safe or whatever,
Yeah, I don't think you're going to hear any backlash from the drivers or anything.
No.
I think we all understand that how the virus is working, and you could be sick with it and not even know. These drivers are in different situations where they're getting, from what I heard from last year, and I don't see it being any different this year, is that every morning, every single person that walked through the gate to go to the paddock, so mechanics, drivers, PR, managers, everybody who walks through that gate got checked. They
right?
got
Yeah.
checked.
Imagine how many people they would have had. Like, crazy.
So I mean, he would have went through all of this stuff every single day, and he would have been cleared. Like, it wasn't like he just landed and was good to go. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, speaking of that, we had a team have to drop out this year, right? Black Swan Racing, the owner driver, Tim Pappas, coming back from Dubai, from the Dubai 24 hour. That's where he got it, which is crazy, because have you seen how the Middle East is doing their stuff with COVID? When you arrive, they're putting, like, you get a GPS tracker on you and escorted. Yeah, it's crazy. They're like crazy for those 2 weeks. So it's interesting that he even got it from there.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, we figured out that the Black Swan team, they might have been short the required amount of drivers. So that's why they had to back out.
That's what yeah.
So
and it's hard to get the guy who's flipping the bill so he can drive the car to flip the bill when he's not going to drive the car, right?
Yeah. So, I'll jump in. You'll jump in. You'll race it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'd crash it, but I'd try to race it.
Well, yeah. At least that would have been better than nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was. That's kind of what I feel like, there was a whole lot going on in the DPI class, for the overall finishing order. We don't want that, because that's going to be a long list. For the DPI, so as we were saying there, Albuquerque, he got it for them in the DPI for. That's the chip. No, that's the
Wayne Taylor Racing
one.
Yep.
LMP2.
And you know what? Just on another side about them, they went through a manufacturer change too, right? They were Cadillac last year, and they switched to Acura.
That shows a lot too, because they were able to win at least with the different.
Well, okay, not only did they win with a brand new car that they've never worked on before, they've only had a couple months with it. This is the first time Acura with this particular car won Daytona. So that Acura in the hands of Penske Racing couldn't win the 24 Hours of Daytona, but in the hands of Wayne Taylor Racing, they did it.
Yeah, and
Which is interesting.
Because they basically might have been worth the investment from Cadillac, is what the talk is now that they won. It's like, well, they wanted more from Cadillac or GM, and after all what they went through, he was really dedicated, or they were really close to GM. Even with GM went through too, he was that one staple there. And then it's like, okay, you know what? Well, we're going to take our ball, and we're also going to win elsewhere, which is kind of like, I don't know, like that's pretty. That's something. And I was saying to you during the race, seeing it's like every year Wayne Taylor Racing, but like you were kind of saying, you got to give them that respect.
Yeah, I mean, they're the team that wins this race. The stat, like I said before, of 3 in a row, 4 of the last 5 have been won by Wayne Taylor Racing. That's skill. You don't lock into 4 Rolex watches like that.
No.
That team knows what they're doing. But I completely understand. Like, I have to admit, I am a big Wayne Taylor Racing fan. I have to admit, I was really pulling for the Chip Ganassi car. I really wanted them to win that race. Like I said earlier, I was just so.
And then their tire went down just like right in the last half an hour there, something like that.
Yeah.
And Chip did not look happy.
No, he didn't. Well, because it was, like I said earlier, it was the second one that happened on that car, and it was the third one that happened on a Cadillac that day.
Right.
But so it's nice. Sometimes it is nice to see a different team win. But you can't say anything bad about that team. And then even the Action Express car of Kamui, Simon Pagenaud, Mike Rockenfeller, and Jimmy Johnson.
Yes.
I mean,
the runner-up was pretty good.
That's the runner, but that's a stellar. Kamui's won it won.
They came back from a lot of crap.
They did, but Kamui's won the race before. He's a top-notch driver. Simon's a top-notch driver. Mike Rockenfeller, some of you may know, some of you might not, but he was really big with the Audi program back when they were running the diesels at Le Mans, and he's won Le Mans. He did DEM, and then you have Jimmy. But the big thing is, like, the only driver out of these 4 drivers that has any experience in a Cadillac, is Kamui. So for that team to finish, second is pretty
not
big.
A lot of testing and.
Well, and they're not even a full season entry.
Right.
Right. They're a one-time entry.
At least for the 48. In the 48.
At least for the 48.
Yeah.
In the 48. Yeah. I heard Jimmy mention
he'd be
interview,
open for more.
Yeah, he wants to do more and possibly do all the endurance rounds this year. So, he's maybe him and Simon will do the endurance rounds.
Hopefully they get. I really liked Kobayashi.
He's an amazing.
I really, because he came back. He got them. He was really fast when he was in for his stints, and he got them back up from a crap a couple times in his stints. And he even avoided, in my opinion, was a BS move by Van der Zande, Freaky Deaky Dutch. He closed the door, but I get it. I don't know if you saw it, but
I did.
Kobayashi was going in fast, and he didn't really, he was peeking in, but at the same time, the way I saw it, Buddy opened his door because Kobayashi was coming. He goes in fast in turn 1 anyway. He like you could see it through the whole every stint he did, and then he was so good at that. He took advantage of that in that situation when Van der Zande opened up his door. I feel like he left the door open, and then he closed the door on him. And I don't know, I guess that doesn't constitute as a cause for incident, or maybe at the time that they didn't see it as that from their perspective, and I understand that. But I know what I saw. And I think that was a guy, we were kind of talking earlier about dudes in iRacing when we were doing the Mayhem Racing League podcast, and there's just some guys that don't want to give up first place. And I kind of feel like, this guy, I think the sun wasn't even up at that point. Like, you could have figured something out.
Dark.
I feel like it was a little aggressive. I felt like it was just a little aggressive for that time. And somehow it came back on Kobayashi somehow, apparently, though.
Yeah, so sports car racing is weird in that sense of sticking your nose in where it doesn't belong, and maybe that's actually like a road racing thing.
Yeah.
Just I think in stock cars there's a general rule of thumb that if you're at least up to the front of the rear tire, that you're there, right? You're not. It's not just the nose of the car that's in there. Up to the wheel or on the rear quarter. You've got axle to axle, or you're a little bit forward. Like, you've got the spot. So I find in like oval racing, most of the time, that's generally respected. But in road racing, you almost have to be the car ahead to claim it's your corner sometimes, right? Like, you could almost be parallel with the car that you're passing and go into a corner and crash, and the other car will say, no, it was your fault, I was ahead, therefore it was my racing line. And sometimes they'll adhere to that. So they're very like, if you...
Yeah, I guess it's the background you're from then, because I think that's
but
that's
then
BS.
You think about the move. So you think about the move. He left the door open. He stuck his nose in. He chopped down and took his nose off. Okay, where was the leading driver going to go if he was going to relinquish that position? You only have your nose in. I'm taking the racing line. And now if your nose is in there, what am I supposed to do? Give up the corner and crash? And then it's like, well, if you got hit from me taking the corner on the racing line, and how are you going to even make the corner on the racing line, right? Like, you would have been so off the racing line. What I think that happened, and I think people don't fully realize in those cars, is because of how they sit in the car, they can't always see everything out the mirror.
Yeah, that's
right?
what I thought maybe.
And there's a real good chance that he stuck his nose in there, and
the spotter was just a little late or something.
Yeah, he didn't even know he was there, and he cut down. He followed the racing line, figuring that he dove in behind. So
yeah, I
think that's why there's no penalty. I think the race director and the race director for IMSA is a guy by the name of Bo Barfield, and if you want to know more about Bo, go listen to Dinner with Racers podcast. I know I'm plugging another podcast, sorry, but they do an interview with him, and it's fantastic. Actually, I recommend that podcast.
It's part of the. It's a part really of the Michael Wallace podcast group or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, he's a really good and fair race director. So I bet you Bo probably looked at it as a racing a true racing incident.
Yeah, because
but they both
you
got away
can go
with
too
it.
wide through there.
It's hard.
I've seen them go, and you could go through the S there. But when you go into the International Horseshoe, if you were on the outside, wouldn't you get a better kind of run into that if they got it down that far too wide? Then you could have come out of the International Horseshoe and you could have taken that line. That's how but you don't. I guess you don't see. I don't know. Maybe you'd think you'd see a few turns down the road, or literally like you'd think you would see. Well, maybe I'll let him go in, but I guess I'll in the heat of the moment. Like it's what they think. They're the race car drivers, right? Like they're the ones in the cockpit. Like they're the ones doing it. It's so easy to save from watching at home.
Of course. And it goes back to, I was talking with some people about, let's just talk about the race start in GTLM when Bruno Spangler just pushes Kevin Estre, like, up, get out of my way, and pushes him across the track and ruin their race. They didn't even get the green flag.
Was
and
that
they
the guy
were
who was
done?
I thought I heard an interview and he was blaming, or maybe that was the guy who got wrecked. Yeah, he wasn't happy.
No. Well, even apparently Bruno. So Kevin Estre was the guy in the Porsche who got clobbered, and of course I would be
okay.
pissed
That was
too.
him. Yeah.
I mean, that's such an iRacing move.
Yeah.
Right. But then I didn't hear the interview or see it, but I heard from somebody else that Bruno said they were all playing the brake checking game, and they went.
I hate
and
that.
he went and wasn't paying it, and not that he wasn't paying attention, and all of a sudden they jumped on the brakes, and it was just like, I'm sorry, I can't stop. But like that was, there was a point I was making a point with that regarding the racing. Oh, sorry, the point of view of the driver, like you don't know what's going on in the car, right? Like it's maybe they were looking at the screen, they're listening to the engineer, put it in this mode.
That
This
split second, so much is
Yeah.
going on almost even in just such a little bit of time.
It just shows that they're human.
Yeah.
They make mistakes, right? And that when I make a mistake in iRacing, not to be so hard on myself, because the guys that actually do it for a living to make money.
Exactly. Like those are the guys.
mistakes.
Yeah. But there's to just round up the rest of that though. Like all the talk was even here. Like all the talk was in the DPI, but LMP2 class winner, ARCA Motorsport.
With Paul Luke
Yep.
Chepin, Dwight Merriman, Kyle Tilley, and Ryan Dial, which is great to see him in there. And that's the crayon car we were talking about.
Yeah, so that's our Canadian. That was our Canadian connection. And LMP2 class winner, Rally Motorsports.
No, LMP3.
LMP3
was Riley. Yeah.
And
with Scott Andrews, Oliver Askew, you might know that name because he raced in IndyCar last year.
right.
And Spencer Piggott, you might remember that name because he raced in IndyCar last year as well.
And they were teammates with the Rally Motorsports this year, getting a Rolex.
Mm-hmm. And then in GTLM, you had Corvette Racing with Jordan Taylor, his full season co-driver Antonio Garcia,
With
and
COVID. Winning,
with
like
COVID.
you won one of the biggest motorsports races. The championship is the watch. Like this guy won a championship with COVID.
Yeah. And COVID, yeah.
So
and they were paired
not many
with
people
their,
say that.
their
I'm sure they have
their
COVID
enduro
too.
driver.
Jordan Taylor's probably like, they're interviewing them like no
he
problem
might.
after the race, but
Well, they'll have to they'll have to quarantine,
Yeah.
no doubt, right? But
in GTD, Windward Racing.
yeah, which is really awesome with Philip Bellis, Indy Donche, Mauro Engel, and Russell Ward, and Windward Racing. I believe is Russell's team. I think that's his team. But I have to put out a shout out for this Sun Energy One Racing car that finished second. I posted on.
That's a sweet scheme. Obviously, I like Chase's the 1 year scheme that he ran.
Oh yeah, he ran that on the road course at Watkins Glen. So this team right here, I posted about them coming to do the 24 on a Facebook page that I'm a part of, and I had a guy comment. He goes, "Yeah, I know, like Kenny Habul here. He's the gentleman driver. It's his team. That's his company, Sun Energy One. I don't know how he's gonna do, and he wasn't that great before." And I said, "I agree, but Kenny's really improved. I mean, they won the 12-hour Bathurst 1 year, and he really improved." And the guy was like, "Yeah, we'll see." And here we are, second place. But he had amazing driver. like teammates. He had Raffaello Marciello, who races the Gruppa M Mercedes, the same car, over in Europe a lot. Michael Grenier and Luca Stoltz, who also runs these Mercedes in Europe. So I just wanted to shout out that team because Kenny did a super job in that car for a gentleman driver.
Yeah, it was. I was that the one that wasn't so tight at the end. I know there was like one guy on the lead lap. Was it the GTD? I don't think that was so tight, that class.
No, LMP3.
Right.
They finished the winner of that rally team. They did 757 laps, and the team that finished in second only did 754. So they were, they won by 3 laps. And I think LMP2, no, LMP2 all finished on the same lap. GTLM I know did as well, and GTD did. Yeah, that was the only one that wasn't really close. Okay. But they had some interesting rules too. Like they had a mandatory 8-minute brake change pit stop.
Yeah, I heard that's weird.
Yeah, so this goes back to what I had said earlier about them not having any 24-hour experience. Yes, they ran the 25 hours of Thunderhill. Apparently, they run a Brit car 24 hours at Silverstone over in England. But Silverstone isn't Daytona, and Thunderhill is not Daytona either.
Yeah.
It's a complete, it's a cool track, but it's just not Daytona. So this was the real first, hard test on cars that weren't proven and brakes that weren't proven. So IMSA said, no, mandatory 8-minute stop. We don't care. We don't care when you do it. You just need to do it to make sure the brakes are good.
Yeah. For those classes though, it was. I wish we could talk. Yeah, I wish there was more talk we could give on those. But
I know because there's some big names in LMP3. Like there's big, shockingly big for what that class is. So
I saw a lot of people on the internet complain about at least the NBC broadcast, and I really enjoyed the NBC broadcast of it. But I do watch the IMSA TV broadcast as well, especially in the early hours in the morning. Maybe even when I sleep, I'll just throw it on. Nothing against them or anything like that. But it's as you said, it has that radio presentation, so you almost don't need to look. So it's nice just to lay back and close, and then. So I didn't miss. I had this TV needs a break. Actually, this TV's been on for over a day. I need but yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, there was a lot of I out of all the years. I was really hooked to it, and I was really understanding what's going on. I don't know if that has anything to do with some of the iRacing stuff that I've done, and I understand the racing a bit more, and I understand especially the track a bit more. So it's like I get what's going on,
right,
and that was cool. The IMSA broadcast is more for the fan. That's it's been around for a while or dedicated, whereas I think NBC they did a good job with reeling in the NASCAR fans the last couple of years. I've realized NBC's done they've done a lot, even just the broadcast team, everyone's had a NASCAR connection on that, and that was really cool. And they would always bring in Steve Latarda Jr. Almost every few minutes. And just asked him, in NASCAR. And I kept mocking it after a while, in NASCAR this and NASCAR that, just making shit up. It was so, but it's working. It's worked on me though. They reeled me in.
Well, you knew the people because you watched NASCAR, so that was a familiarity.
And Junior showing interest, that's cool too, because it's if he thinks it's cool.
He raced it. Right? So he's got experience there, in that stuff. It's I think what makes sports car racing a little bit more difficult for maybe not just a casual fan is there's a lot more than 43 drivers like NASCAR, or 42, whatever, or
Right.
41, whatever
Yeah.
they're at right now.
Right.
Totally. You have tons not of only Joe Blow, Joe
Schmo.
They're not big. Yeah, and there's like two. There's two guys per car. Two people per car most of the time. And not only is there not, it's not just like one class like NASCAR. Right. Like look at this year: DPI, LMP2, LMP3, GTLM, and GTD. 5 classes, lots of letters, and if you don't know what they mean, it's really hard to follow, right? And when you look at the other part of that is if you look at the Ferrari in GTLM and the Ferrari in GT3, they're the same car. They're different, obviously, underneath.
Yeah.
But there's a few outside things that you can look at that tell you that if it's a GTLM or a GTD car. But for the casual person, they're the same car. Well, why are they in a different class? Why is that one faster than that one? There's a lot going on. So if
I just learned how to take it how it is.
Yeah, but if you get a good broadcast team like those guys, that kind of, I don't want to be rude and say dumb down.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they're simplifying things.
Simplify it, but that's how people learn. You get people's interest for sure.
Yeah, and especially with Daytona, with the track, with the road course there, with NASCAR fans kind of being brought into that last year. Now this year, with the next month, NASCAR is going to be in Florida. So especially with Daytona, they're going to be there up until the end of February. So now that it's February 1st, now that this episode will be our first episode for February, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks now that we're looking at the speed weeks. And as I always say, Rolex starts it all off, and the next thing you know, and with this year, with everything being like a week, everything's the speed weeks are definitely shorter this year, with everything starting on Tuesday, February 9th, with the Busch Clash, Wednesday the 10th, Daytona 500 pole qualifying, Thursday the 11th, Cup Series duels, the 12th, trucks, Saturday, ARCA and Xfinity, and Sunday, the big show. So apparently it's already sold out. They're expecting 30,000 there. We're gonna see. I'm so excited. Yeah, absolutely excited. We're gonna have it here. We're gonna have it covered right here on the Wide World of Motorsports. Check us out on Facebook and the podcast as well, past episodes, and our iRacing. We're doing stuff on there now. We're thinking about starting a series. You have a brainchild that I'd like to be the godfather of. That's cool. I would really like that series to roll out, and I'd really like to get into that multi-class series. So looking forward to that.
Hopefully we can get that going, and I think it'd be fun. And it's going to start, like I said before, it's going to start out small and simple, but I'd like to get it a little more complicated at some point.
Yeah, just as Jimmy Johnson said, he likes the challenges, he likes the complications. He almost finds the comfort in that. So that being said, we'll wrap it up on here. Make sure you check us out on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram, and past episodes of the Wide World of Motorsports podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Facebook Watch. While you're there, check out past episodes of the Wide World of Motorsports esports team machine. Also, check out the Mayhem Racing League podcast on the Mayhem Racing League on Facebook. If you want to join the coolest and awesomest iRacing League, check out the Mayhem Racing League on the iRacing League directories and on Facebook.
Hi, this is Alex Tagliani, NASCAR Pinty Series driver. You're tuned in from the track to the community on Wide World of Motorsports, the #1 motorsport show in the community.
Remember when I told all my drivers, reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time? Drivers, start your engines!
We're just welcome to the Mayhem Racing League podcast here, guys. We're just talking right now about some some stuff about the potential upcoming series that we got on the menu here, and there's some ideas from Wallace about a potential series.
Yeah, so I'm a big endurance racing fan, and I thought it'd be kind of cool to have add an endurance element to the Racing League. It was brought up that maybe we should try out one angle, like just do multiclass racing before we try to do multiclass and endurance, which actually I didn't think of, and I completely agree with. And so we're trying to set up a multi-class racing league for the league.
Seth French, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a great idea. I think whatever guys want to run and what they're interested in, we'll definitely put it out there. I know I'm just speaking on. I'll speak for Mike Durfee here. He's running a special event series as well. He was looking at. I think we have a couple of those going. It'll be real fun. His is geared around some of the major racing events like Daytona 500, the Indy 500. So he wanted to do more of those, just like the premier races, I guess you could call it, that are in racing across all the disciplines, and kind of have that as a point schedule. So I think if we ran that, and his would be once every, I think he had timed it out 3-4 weeks or so, maybe even longer than that. There might be one race, maybe 6-7 races throughout the whole entire season, which we run the course of the year. Maybe the endurance can do the same type of thing, and catch some of those races in where we have splits in the season or off nights or different things, and grow from there.
Yeah, I like that idea. I really didn't want the endurance season or the multi-class season to be as busy as our street stock or ARCA schedule, because then realistically, if we want to try to keep it down that realistic path, sports car racing doesn't have long seasons like that, right? So I like
they're
that
only
idea.
like once a month, almost two.
Yeah, so, the WEC runs like 6 a year, and one of them's Le Mans, the biggest race in the world. But and then IMSA runs 10, and 2 of them don't even have prototypes at them. So it's just easier. Commitment's hard, right, Seth? I'm sure that's what you guys face trying to plan out a series.
Yeah, it is, and timing, the scheduling and all is the same. Trying to get a feel for how many guys you're going to have in. I think MAZDA series has been doing real well, and it's holding strong. We're coming up on the season just finished, so we got 1 week break. We're going to try to do a little more recruiting. That one kicks off next week. Street stocks obviously faded a little bit here in the end, but I think maybe the time slot and that points are kind of getting close to wrapped up, so guys can't make a run for it. Does affect it a little bit. So those are some things to take in consideration. But I think if we do the once a month, once every month and a half, and their special events, that'll definitely keep some interest going.
There was some talk about it being the Kia car, and what was the other one? It was the Pontiac
Cadillac.
Solstice, the Cadillac. Okay.
No, yeah, I think Mike Durfee was talking about running a Solstice series. Was it Mike or was it Sean? But
so Mike,
yeah,
Mike's idea was to run the Solstice, and the reason for that was we've been doing a lot of fixed setups, and that car has very minimal adjustments you can make. And we didn't want to scare guys off going with a lot of open setups, because a lot of guys just don't know car setups, and they don't want to get beat week in, week out if they're not car guys or car setup guys. So some of the fixed settings was kind of what we were looking at, but that car is very limited. But I guess it didn't work out. The car is not a real good car to race. I know ARCA's a fixed setup. We're still looking at doing something with an open type series, but for setups, it's just a little bit tough when guys don't know the setups, and it kind of deters them from wanting to run or even having the ability to run. They feel slow or feel like they're going to be outdone by somebody.
Well, I like that. I thought, just to on this sidebar of the idea that Mike came up with. I mean, I like that idea. I enjoy racing and I enjoy the cars, and I know, like, for me personally, I know little things that I like to do in my cars to change up a setup. Some of it has to do with little suspension things or air pressures or whatnot. But it'd be nice. But I don't know anything about setting up a car realistically to make it go faster. So that idea of an entry level, not too complicated car to set up is I think is a great idea.
Be interesting to see them throw that maybe into that series with the Kias and Cadillacs. Would that work? Would the Solstice be cool to throw in, or
It's slow. Like if you run the one league that runs the Solstice, the Mustang, the Jetta, and the Miata, the Solstice is the slowest car on the track. So I don't know how it would do. So like
no.
if we
Yeah.
yeah, so going back to the idea of the multi-class series, excuse me, the only reason I picked the Kia and the Cadillac was because they're free. And they do race multi-class in the game as a legit ranked series. And I didn't want, lots of people made a couple comments, well, the Kia is not really good or they're not a great combo. And I get that. And I agree, like they're not the best cars to drive, but to start out the series to see if people like it, I think instead of having people invest money into it and it be a flop, I think it's the best way to go. Now we could run the legacy Mazdas maybe, or looking through what they have here, there might be another Radicals. Oh my goodness, yeah, they're fun, but they're so hard to drive. Even the Spec Racer Fords, I find those really. Do you? I find those really hard to drive. But realistically, I'd love to have it like a GT4 and TCR league. But people have to pay for those cars, and if they're not full road racers or don't intend to really be road racers but want to dabble like we do with the Mazdas, then it's hard to get people to invest. It really depends on the want or need, I think. I think you'd probably agree, Seth.
Yeah, some of the costs and some of the things to get guys to run a car that they're only going to run a couple times here and there might deter them a little bit. I know everybody's going to get a feel for that Kia because that's going to be one of the cars we're going to run, and I think it's the ARCA All-Star. I think we picked that one.
Right.
I got to look. ARCA or maybe Mazda we picked. I think Mazda's going to be different. ARCA probably will be the Kia for All-Star races. So maybe they'll get a feel for that. Maybe some guys will like it. Maybe we'll do something with that as well down the road.
Nice. Well, and just looking, I went on here on iRacing just to look at what the free content was because I forget. But, they've moved some of these V8 supercars into Legacy, and they're free.
Yeah, I looked at the Holden, is it called?
Yeah,
That's a cool car. And I thought about making that maybe the All-Star car.
That'd be cool.
For Mazda, probably. V8 supercar Holden. It's kind of, I guess, similar to that Cadillac. His body style and body shape. I think the wing's not as big, so we won't hit the wall with it. And that might make a big difference.
Yeah, and it's all power, right? Those V8 supercars are just insane.
Yeah, and that will be fun to test out on a road course because maybe we'll do that for Mazda because Mazda's got 2 All-Star races. One's a road race and one's an oval race, so maybe that car will be fun to run on both and get a feel for it.
Yeah, speaking of the Mazda, the new Season 3 schedule that you recently posted on the Mayhem Racing League Facebook page, and that's a stacked schedule right there we're looking at here.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's my favorite series in this, and I'm not even a road guy and road racing guy, but I fell in love with that Mazda in the Mazda season, and when we first started this league, it's how it came about, and when it kind of made Season 3, I got together with a couple of you guys that were involved. I know, Jordan, you were involved a little bit too, and we kind of came up with a USA tour on this one. So we got a heck of a season coming up. It's going to be all tracks inside the continental U.S. Season 4 is going to be a European tour, where we're going to try to put all the road courses as European tracks, and then when we go to the next season, we'll switch to some sort of like some of like the Japanese tracks and different things. We'll do a mixture of stuff, but it's a heck of a lineup for 14 race season, 16 with the All-Stars, 8 ovals and 6 roads. So it's definitely a mix with a couple paid tracks this season, but there's some good ones that are really in there, and it's going to be some really good road racing and oval racing. I think some short tracks, Bristol's in there. There's a bunch
the paid tracks are, I know I see Watkins in there.
And Bristol.
Yeah, Watkins Glen, Bristol.
Okay.
That might be the only 2.
Yeah. Well, is Daytona Road going to be the Legacy Daytona Road?
Yeah, we'll go with Legacy because you don't really ride the oval that much and bump around like you do on the other track. But yeah, no. Bristol and Watkins Glen's gonna be great, and we threw a couple different ones in there. Langley, which is a weird one, but that might be fun to run that one.
Yeah,
short track in the circle. It's something different.
I
And
hate
then
that track. Oh, I
it's
hate
tough.
that track.
And
It
then,
is
yeah.
tough,
so
but I think
hard.
it'd be pretty cool to change it up with the Mazdas, and then Summit
Yeah.
Point. We're on the Jefferson Circuit. If you've never been on that, that's a really neat little course.
Is that the little short one, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like a kidney bean kind of shape thing going on, and it's a lot of fun. That's a great little track.
That's the track I won at racing with you, James. Remember when we did our dual burnouts?
Oh yeah, that's the one. Okay,
Yeah, that's
cool.
the one.
That's kind of so. Yeah, there's definitely a couple tracks too that are included in a lot of official sessions in the Mazda series. So there's some familiarity there, and then there's also just a lot of tracks in general that are used in other series like Bristol or Watkins. So
Yeah.
those are good to buy if you want to look into the schedule, if you want to go on iRacing and look into what the races are and all the series you're eligible for. Plan out your schedule, and if Watkins shows up in a series that you can upgrade your license in, well, at the Mayhem Racing League, they're going to be taking advantage of that in every series. So you're going to get worth out of Bristol and Watkins being the most popular tracks. So you see those a lot in random hosted lobbies too, and I think that's a really good direction, and to be able to have Watkins. Oh man, that's gonna be so good in the Mazdas. Are you gonna do the classic, or are you gonna do? I would love no bus stop, and maybe
Yeah, I haven't really decided yet what layout on that one is.
classic.
Well, I'm going to pull up and have a pick on it.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
But real quick, Bristol's going to be in there twice. We're going to run that twice. Race like 7 in the last race of the season as well. The All-Star races, the tracks haven't been picked yet. But the other one I want to point out that we threw in there this year is going to be Thompson. Thompson's going to be. The league has never run that. It's a free track.
April
It's
6th.
a banked longer oval, I guess you can call it, for a small car. It's a really strange track, but it'll be a fun one.
Series is gonna take us all the way into spring, so
Yeah. Wow.
you know it's only starting. It's around the corner, starting February 9th. It'll be Tuesday nights at 8:30, and for people out there who aren't in the Mayhem Racing League, it is definitely a cool little big. I think that's a good series to introduce people. And when they ask, "Oh, I gotta find a league," or "Is there any leagues out there on those iRacing groups?" It's a good introductory series.
Yeah, it is. And that series has it all from road racing to ovals to beginners to some serious guys that run good. But it's just it's open to everybody, and everybody enjoys it.
I even myself, I'm not the greatest in the Miatas, and that's because I don't know. I fall off, especially at road courses. I get slower each lap, but in the Pro Mazdas, I get faster each lap. I don't know what that's all about, but obviously a different car. But I still have fun, and I'll still show up. Lately, I haven't though, because I know that I just don't want to screw up anybody's championship run. Because at road courses, I'm just a moving chicane, so I don't want to screw up anyone's championship run. But yeah, definitely. It's fun no matter what.
It's a good series. What I really like, you're gonna find somebody that's at your capability, right? So you're gonna have somebody to run with, I think, and I like that.
I've noticed that.
It's not just you're gonna be dead last, or you're gonna be in the middle by yourself because you're fast but not fast enough. You're always gonna have somebody with you.
Yeah, you'll always have a battle. I was going to say the same thing. There's always somebody near you to battle the whole race.
It's going to be a battle through the whole season, as there is a trophy to the champion. So
Yes, we just crowned our champion last race. We wrapped up season 2. Brennan Heron has won both back-to-back titles, and he's on the podium to be beat. So somebody in season 3. I'm not hoping somebody can beat him. I want to beat him, but maybe somebody can come in and take him down and become a new champ.
Some of these guys are fast, and we've talked about it on chat during a race, like when we had that Daytona race yesterday and whatnot, about people's equipment and if that makes them fast. Because I've wondered the same thing. Like, I don't have a huge crazy setup here. I have a decent wheel. I have really nice pedals.
Same.
And I run, a single screen. It's a 22-inch screen, but it's not a triple or VR.
I'm running a 50.
But you're running a 50?
Yeah. I sit right in front of it too, so it's almost like VR. I don't even need VR, to be honest. It's good enough.
Right. So, but some of those guys are just, they always call them aliens. Like,
Yeah.
they're just aliens.
Yeah, it seems that way.
But it's fun. If you watch them, you can learn and pick up a few tips and tricks from them. I definitely have. I feel like in Mazdas, I've definitely picked up my pace. I'm not up at the front, battling for a win, but I think I'm up battling for top fives. And one of the things, just on a little quick sidebar, that I really noticed, and I'm curious if anybody else felt this way, I was real careful with my steering. And then when I really realized you need to turn into a corner. I don't know if that makes sense how I'm putting that.
I know what you
Turn
mean.
more. Like you think, oh, I got to be gentle because it's I don't want to spin out. And then I started watching some of these guys, and I'm like, oh no, they put input in, like they're turning into these corners. And once I started doing that, I noticed I gained a good half to 3/4 of a second, a lap easily.
It's funny you say that, because when we ran that Daytona race yesterday, we ran Daytona Road with the Mazdas there. And
Yeah.
I have a triple screen set up. I got triple 32.
Nice.
And,
Right. Nice.
I feel the same thing. I was turning a lot less, and then for some
Yeah.
reason that race I started using, I guess you'd say, using my side monitors more, and
Yeah.
looking past where I'm looking in front of me and looking over to my right side, out that right front of the car. And
Yeah.
that made me start to turn that wheel more, and I was taking time off my laps by doing that. So it makes a big difference.
Wow.
So looking through that turn is huge compared to looking at just a screen in front of you. I think
Yeah,
it's a big difference.
I'm glad that I'm not the only one, and I've learned or heard lots of race car drivers, like if you ever watch, there's a good video, you might be able to find it on YouTube, I think, of Kevin Magnussen when he was driving for Haas, and it does eye tracking, like where they're looking at the screen for the corners, and it's actually really interesting to see where they're looking. I think Jordan and I, we've had this talk before about not looking at the front of the hood of the car, looking into the corner. I mean, and if you look at this video, you watch Kevin's eyes, he might be at the number 2 board and he's looking at the apex and looking at exit, then he'll look a little bit further at the front of the corner, then he's back to the apex and he's back to the exit. And as he gets closer to the corner, you realize he stopped looking at the apex and he starts, he's continually looking down the track, right? He's never looking what's in front of him. He doesn't give a shit about, because he's already there, right? He needs to be looking way down the track. I mean, it's Formula One, so it's happening a lot quicker. But like Seth, you're saying, you're looking through at where you need to be and not where you are.
You want to go.
Yeah, you look where you want to go. I mean, that's what they teach us when we start driving, right? The car's going to go where you look. And it's the same in racing.
And that led me to turning the wheel much more and much harder and much faster and much sharper, I guess you can say.
Yeah,
and kind of hooked and started going.
Yeah, and then the other part of that I find too is how aggressive you can be on curbs. So sometimes at some tracks, I mean, you learn curbs at certain tracks, right? Some curbs throw you off and not to hit them. But at a place like Daytona, like you're talking about, especially coming through the bus stop, I mean, you're full curb going in and you're full curb coming out. And, I started to not be so afraid of the curbs with the Mazda. With other cars, I know it unsettles them pretty quickly because they're more sensitive to that kind of stuff. But
yeah, and in those practice sessions too, I started pushing the car further and deeper and deeper and deeper until I lost it and then backed it off. You gotta, push that envelope where you're braking. And I upgraded my pedals recently, which I think made a big difference for me. I went to the V3s, and I think just feeling that brake is huge difference compared to, I had the G920s, which was kind of just a positional.
Okay.
Put the brake pedal, there's no real feel to it, and these ones have
Right.
actual feel or load cells. They got a feel. And
who makes those?
that's Fanatec.
Oh, okay.
Out there. They're,
Yeah.
if it's worth the upgrade. I know some guys, depending on what you got for equipment, you can do it with anything. Guys have beat me with the G920s and everything else. So it's not, not always the equipment, but I feel like it made me a little bit quicker.
I think some of the equipment really does, for sure. I mean, I run Thrustmaster stuff, and I have a TMX steering wheel, which is a new entry point for the steering wheels. It wasn't overly priced, and then I upgraded to Thrustmaster's T3 PA Pro pedals. They're not load cell, but I noticed that when I went from the pedals that the set came with, and trust me, I'm not putting down those pedals because without them I wouldn't have been able to do it. But once I got these pedals, I mean, the difference was night and day, and I could just imagine even stepping to like load cell pedals or putting on a load cell kit must make all the difference in the world.
Yeah, it feels more like a real brake. But even that, I still got the G920 wheel. But even the G920 pedals with the dirt I run, I'm still putting up quick times, and I'm beating guys. So it's all about repetition and running the laps and doing it again and again and again.
That's what's awesome in the MAZDA series.
Sorry, what's up?
Yeah.
Michael?
No, sorry. I didn't hear what you said either.
Oh, me. Oh, yeah. No, that's what's so good about the MAZDA series is you learn these things. These are the things that you kind of pick up.
Yeah,
you get to really know your setup. You get to really know your wheels. You get to really, you go, maybe, you know what, maybe I need to upgrade. Or this, it's not a hard series, but you can really get your toes wet in iRacing with what you could really be like full potential. Because there's some guys in our league that they're really good. Like they're perfect. They're almost like too good. They're very dedicated, I guess you could say. I guess that's the nice way of putting it. I don't have that much time, or maybe I'm not that good, or something like that. But there's a lot of good guys, like really good guys, in the Mayhems or in the MAZDAs.
Yeah, one of my, I would call it a problem. I'm not saying I'm not blaming it for why they're better than me, because they're much better than me, and they run a lot. I jump around all cars, all different stuff. I run a little bit of everything, and I think at times that's a little bit of I wouldn't say a downfall, but if you're not running one car every time, obviously it's gonna be tough to be faster than some other people. But I don't mind it. I like all the cars on the sim and like running them, and I jump all over the place and run dirt, and I'll run pavement, and I'll run road, and I'll run oval. I'll do it all, whatever.
And it's all in the Mayhem Racing League. There's all sorts of different kinds of racing that you can get involved with, and I feel like we're missing a dirt. I was about to say, I feel like we're missing a dirt series or something like that.
I would love a dirt series.
That's why I wanted to put that on that schedule for the season 3 for Street Stocks.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea. I personally want to get into more dirt stuff. I have to admit that on iRacing, I'm a little sick of running
the pavement circle tracks.
No, like I like the dirt street stock, and I understand that's where you need to learn. But I don't know. Sometimes I find I'm better in a quicker car. I feel, and they'll always say, "Well, if you're not good in this, then you're not going to be good in that," and that's how you get good in the other stuff. But I really want to run some like UMP modified stuff, but I don't. I'm sometimes intimidated. That's what talking about that. That's one of the reasons why I also like our league is I don't find it intimidating. Everyone's pretty nice about things. Like we haven't had blow-ups in, I've only been here for season 2, and I haven't really, me and Jordy, I guess, got into it a little bit at Scuba, but that was more like a little misunderstanding, right? I didn't take it personal, and I don't think he did. But it's a good series. It's friendly.
And the ARCA series too that's coming up, and I know that we were chatting earlier, Seth, about being a different kind of scoring system, and we were seeing a bit of that. We were testing some stuff out tonight in the ARCAs too with those heats.
Yes, we ran that as a heat race, which congratulations on your heat win. You'll be the pole sitter for the Daytona 85.
I was a bulldozer in that race. I feel bad.
Well, I'll get a good starting grid poster made up on all these, but coming weeks. But the scoring system's a little bit different. I'm trying to bring it up. I had it through the UI here. I'm trying to bring it up now. There's going to be points awarded from here on out. I think we're going to do it at MAZDA as well in all the series. Extra points for taking pole position for leading a lap in a race and leading the most laps. There'll be a couple bonus points for those, and then we were doing the oval scoring system where it went from 43 points -1 down to 0. We totally changed that.
Nice.
Kind of spaced out a little bit. It was tough for anybody who fell behind to make up in your room, or if you had a bad night, you didn't really lose much, which kind of didn't really do much as far as the scoring system went.
Yeah.
So now it's going to be, I'm trying to bring it up. Let me try to get into here and bring it up. So like first place, we're going to start with a 150 and down, 150 points to win. It was 43, so it's going to create, a nice gap. And then it's like I think we did -4 points from first to fifth, -3 points from that. I mean, I'll get it up here 1 second. Just give me 1 minute. I'll pause here and I'll bring it up.
You're good. No worries.
I can just go over it.
Changing the points, I did notice that with the points being a little close, but I don't know systems work on the series on iRacing. But I like that you're changing it up, kind of making it. You're almost kind of incentivizing you to show up, right?
Yeah, so I got it here. So the way it's going to work, like I said, it'll be 1 point for taking the pole, 2 points for most laps led, 1 point for beating a lap. We obviously don't have heats or consies, but in the feature to win is going to be 150, and it'll go down from 5. So second place 145, third's 140, fourth 135, and then it'll start dropping by 3 points from fifth position down to like 10th position, and then it'll go by 2 points all the way back to, I think we set it to 20th. Actually, it keeps going down by 2. So it's definitely going to change it a little bit. It's obviously if you finish 20th now, you're going to lose more points than you would more than a 19 points. But if somebody has a bad night, you can make up points on them as well. So we're hoping it's going to make it a more incentive to show up each week, and more incentive to change it up a little bit here and there when some good races and bad races come through.
And even with the tracks that people maybe don't want to buy, they'll still be able to get those points made up for. They just got to let us know. They got to let specifically you know, I'm guessing.
Yes, what we're going to do now is for Season 3 MAZDA and ARCA series moving forward, since we have paid tracks in those, if you are going to miss a week, all we'll have is you just got to send me a message or post it up on Facebook. You're not going to be there, and it's going to be up to the people that don't show up to post it. You will get a last place finish provisional points. So if you don't have the paid track and you don't want to buy it, you can still be in the point standings. You'll just take a last place finish.
Nice. Yeah.
I was just going to ask about the playoffs that you have set up for the ARCA.
Yes.
Is it set up like NASCAR? This kind of the same idea?
A little bit different. So what's going to happen? We set it up. It's an 18 race season. So in that season, when it gets down to the last 4 races that are going to be run on the year, what's going to happen is the points are going to reset, and the position 1st through 8th will be going for the points championship, and then 9th through the remaining, everybody will be eligible. The points will reset, and they'll go for a tier 2. So there's going to be a tier 1 and a tier 2 champion. So two trophies handed out. 1st through 8th will battle for the tier 1 championship, and 9th through whoever's in the standings will battle for the tier 2 trophy. That way everybody's got a shot at a trophy, and the points will kind of reset. It determines whether or not you make tier 1 or tier 2.
Is it gonna be same in the sense of you win and you're in, or is it strictly top 10 you said, or top 8? I forget what you said there, sorry.
Yeah, we could revamp it. I was looking at the win to get in. Any win will automatically enter you in the top 8. We could run it that way. It's a great idea. Maybe we'll change that up. We haven't started yet, obviously. So I do like if you automatically get a win, you're guaranteed into the top 8. I just hate it if somebody who would be at lower points in the standings and might only show up for 3 or 4 races and they picked up a win, then they're not going to be there or something. They got to battle some of the top guys.
Yeah.
It's still a skill level thing. So we only originally had it set for 1st to 8th, but that's something we can talk about. It's a good idea.
I wasn't suggesting that. That's awesome, but I was just curious if that's how. It's if you guys were going to do it
idea.
That way or not.
And with this podcast and being able to post it to the Facebook group so people can listen to, and hopes that they'll be able to hear this and discuss. They can continue the conversation on the social media page, the Mayhem Facebook page, Mayhem Racing League. Search it up and getting that conversation going and getting some feedback and being able to get the people actually in the members, the people actually in the league to determine what the season's going to be. That's really important. I feel like you really don't get that in many other leagues. A lot of it's a one-guy shop or something like that, and they almost take offense to advice, but obviously at Mayhem, very open to suggestions.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. Yeah, we try to make the league open to everybody, and we'll listen to anybody's suggestions. If you have an idea, throw it out. We're willing to take it and take criticism and look at making things better and improving it. So if you have a good idea and you think we should do it, or if you just want to throw it out there, put it on Facebook, make a post, let us know, send a message, and we'll look at it and determine if that's something we want to do or move forward with, or maybe we'll vote on it or whatever. We're very open to everything and all suggestions. It's for everybody, not a dictatorship. We don't make every decision. We make decisions based on everybody, and it's for you guys.
Very sweet. And quickly here, just for a minute or so, what's coming up in the Mayhem Racing League in the next couple weeks? I know we got a MAZDA race on Tuesday. I don't think there's an SS race on Sunday due to the Super Bowl or ARCA.
Sunday, correct. There's no ARCA and there's no street stock on Sunday because of the Super Bowl. Coming up this week, we have nothing. We're going to have a fun run for MAZDA. It's a MAZDA off week in between the seasons, so we'll put something up for Tuesday. That way guys can get their fix. Maybe we'll run one of the MAZDA races, maybe Daytona Road again, since that's week 2.
I love the road course. Yeah,
everybody's in love with Daytona right now with the 24-hour race.
They're going to be there for like a whole month, and with all the road course racing that's going to be there in the next month anyway. So
maybe we'll definitely host something Tuesday night for MAZDA, and then we're going to be off next week. So we'll host something probably maybe over the weekend, race or two, and then next week is when we'll get fully rolling, where MAZDA will kick off on the 9th, which is Tuesday. And then that following Sunday, which is the 14th, will be street stock race and kicking off the Daytona 85 ARCA opener.
It'll be sweet. Check that out on the iRacing League directory. Send a request there, and also join on the Facebook at the Mayhem Racing League.
Always taking new members.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.